What's up, movie lover badasses? Fat Samurai Guy here with Lady Fat Blood, and today we are going to review X-Men Apocalypse. Here's a quick plot synopsis. With the emergence of the world's first mutant apocalypse, the X-Men must unite to defeat his plan of extinction. Now we're going to give you the good, we're going to give you the bad, we're going to give you the badass. First up, the good.
James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender return again, thank God! And we get fantastic performances from both of them. They both had really good character arcs. They had a lot of good material to work with, and it was really nice seeing them on screen again. And Nicholas Hoult and Evan Peters come back as Beast and Quicksilver, respectively, and Nicholas Hoult is always solid in this role, even though he might be kind of more like a supporting character, but he's really good in what he does, and I think he's comfortable in his role. And Evan Peters, dude, just, you know, you never have to work again, man.
And I actually enjoyed some of the newcomers. Ty Sheridan as Cyclops, he really had the attitude of the character down. And Sophie Turner as Jean Grey, I really enjoyed. Her version of Jean Grey, I enjoyed a little bit more than the first X-Men's portrayal of Jean Grey, played by Famke Janssen. Yeah, in this version, it just seemed like she just wasn't as useless as Famke was in the first X-Men. She had a little bit more control, just a little bit more control compared to Famke just levitating shit, and that was it.
She seemed to be a little more powerful.
Yeah.
Like, she was, I mean, the whole thing in the film was a lot of these kids, they didn't have control of the power yet,
right.
But she kind of knew what she was. I liked how they, this is the first time where we actually see the kids, a big school setting, and they're actually scared of Jean. And I thought that was a really good touch. And Cody Smit-McPhee gives us our second Nightcrawler, the first time we've been able to see Nightcrawler since X-Men 2, which is a crime against humanity.
Yes.
He's a great character. He's one of my favorites. He's just one of those, he's fun. The character of Nightcrawler, he's just nice to look at. And in this movie, I don't think he maybe had the same level of sympathy. I mean, we weren't as sympathetic maybe for him as we were in the first one, but he's still the same presence and character in a lot of ways, and he's younger, he's more of a teenager now, it seems like, so, you know, he wants to go out and have fun, and I thought that was really cute.
Yeah, he was great.
So I hope we get to see him again.
Now for the bad.
Apocalypse is this master being who, throughout the centuries, transfers his consciousness into another mutant's body. Each time he is this new incarnation, he recruits 4 horsemen. And we get our 4 horsemen in this movie, and I'm sorry to say they're kind of a little bit of a letdown. Magneto being the exception to the rule, of course. His motivations throughout the film are completely well set up and realized. Storm is probably the second best done, even though it seems like you're never really explained if Apocalypse is controlling these people, or if he just shows them, hey, you got a lot of power, why don't you come with me and we'll do some damage. Storm, you can kind of understand, you know, she lives in the slums, she's a thief, she's, you know, very powerless, so you can understand why she would probably be tempted by the idea of something like that. The other two,
yeah,
damn, you know, Angel, who gets turned into Archangel, of course, he's been forced to fight other mutants for money to survive, and that's about it. You get a little bit of time with him and Nightcrawler, and that's literally it. Yeah. And yeah, I am really hoping that y'all are okay with Psylocke just looking really good, because dialogue is minimal. Her motivations are completely unclear, aside from she was kind of a bodyguard or whatever at one point. She has this look of, I'm evil, all the time that we see her, so she was kind of disappointing to me personally, because she looks fantastic. Yeah. She's in the outfit. And her motivations are the worst of all of them, and they're also kind of underutilized as the 4 horsemen. I mean, they're doing their job, but at the end of the day, it's really about Apocalypse and Xavier, so you can kind of forgive it a little bit, but it's still a little underwhelming.
Yeah, the only thing I liked about Archangel was that he liked to listen to Metallica. and for Psylocke, I mean, okay, look, all right, she's 1,000 times better than that fucking bullshit we got in X-Men: The Last Stand. Okay, that was not fucking Psylocke.
I bet you didn't know Psylocke was in the movie.
Yeah, that wasn't her, damn it. So Olivia Munn, she looked fine physically in the action sequences. She looked fine, but if you were expecting a lot, I know she did a lot of sword training, a lot of martial arts training for the role, but unfortunately, you don't really get to see it that much. Which what she does in the movie is fine physically, but you're just not going to get a lot of it.
Maybe I'm not completely qualified on speaking about J-Law, because as I said before, I'm not a fan of hers. I've never really been sold on her. I haven't seen her in enough to warrant the drool that she gets, you know, allotted to her every time she's mentioned or is on screen.
The Oscar bait.
Yeah, so I didn't like her in the first movie. I really didn't like how by the second movie her character, because of Jennifer Lawrence's actual real life status as an A-lister, they beefed up her character even more because Fox is like, yeah, we got this contract, we're gonna use this bitch. And I was like, okay, well now you're making a character that I was not invested with in the first film, the all-important character in the second film, and in this movie, she's about as important in a lot of ways. I think Magneto does have more importance in this one this time around, which I'm really happy about.
Yay, thank God.
But now it feels like Jennifer Lawrence is just waiting for that contract to expire. It felt a little phoned in. You know, I feel like she's just waiting for the next project to come along. I don't know, that could just be, I don't know.
I'm a little bit different though. I get where you're coming from, but I thought at least her portrayal of Mystique was way better in the X-Men Days of Futures Past than in First Class. They gave her more to do. Physically, she started to fight a little bit more how Mystique fought in the older X-Men movies, and I thought she was an improvement from the First Class portrayal of Mystique. But in this one, oh man, like literally anybody could have walked in from off the street, I'm not kidding, put on the outfit and said her lines. It would have been the exact same.
And it was really funny.
It would have been the exact same.
I don't know if maybe Jennifer Lawrence doesn't want to do the makeup thing anymore, but I would have to say 85% of her performance was her as Jennifer Lawrence.
Yeah.
And at first I thought, well, that was really cheap and that was a cop-out. But then, you know, the movie tries to justify it as well. You know, once she was mutant and proud, and they even mentioned that, you know, Xavier's like, you were once mutant and proud, look at you now. And Mystique's basically like, yeah, well, you know, that's not me anymore, and she's kind of in hiding. And by the end of the movie, she has her own little character arc, and that's fine.
The resolution of her character is fine, but the performance leading up to that just, oh man.
Yeah, it's kind of like she's had this big history with everybody, and she finds out about Magneto resurfacing, and suddenly she wants to help him.
Yeah.
She's, I guess, going around from place to place saving mutants, which I guess kind of makes sense because you know she helped out Wolverine at the end of Days of Future Past for a while. It didn't work out that well.
Yeah, it didn't work out.
But you know, it was just
Yeah. Now we're gonna give you the pros and cons of Apocalypse because we're a little bit split on Apocalypse. I'm gonna give you the cons, okay, and she'll give her side of it. All right. Okay. I like Oscar Isaac. I thought, acting-wise, I thought he did a good job in the film. I really did. A lot of people were bothered by the way he spoke and the way he moved and talked, and I really didn't have a problem with that because the guy fancies himself a god, okay? Do you really want Apocalypse, who looks and fancies himself as a god, to be like, hey, what's up, Cyclops? Okay? I didn't mind the way he spoke, but physically, okay, makeup was fine, the outfit was fine. But physically, it just did not work for me. Everyone's different, okay? Physically, it just didn't work for me. He just wasn't intimidating enough. I liked the performance. Don't get me wrong. I really liked Oscar Isaac's performance, but physically, it looked like I was watching Midget Apocalypse. It really did, and it was just kind of like, oh man, I really want to, you know, like this, but it was just kind of like, meh.
Okay, so for me personally, it didn't bother me that he wasn't huge, and that was because at the beginning of the film, it is shown that, and it is explained later, that he is transferred from body to body when his original body dies. And in the beginning, we see his consciousness being transferred into itty-bitty little Oscar Isaac's body, whose ability just happens to be that he can self-heal. He's like a Wolverine. And so the body doesn't matter in this case. You know, now I feel like because he is Apocalypse, he will probably be able to come back again someday, and they can get somebody else to play him. And if he wants to be huge next time, he can be huge. But in this particular instance, he was placed into an average-sized host, and it wasn't the outside that mattered, because he was fucking everything up. He almost destroyed what he wanted to destroy. You know, and I thought it was a little weird, the whole, you know, again, his performance was fine, but the motivations, he is a god. He fancies himself a god. And it wasn't necessarily extinction he was trying to accomplish. He wanted the weak. He wanted all of those who fancied themselves in power to realize that they were without power. And then he wanted the meeker, the mutants, I guess, to kind of rise up. It seemed like that was his ultimate goal. So it wasn't necessarily an extinction plan, but it was on some kind of level. So it was like, okay, well, he doesn't want to destroy the world, but he's destroying the world. But no, it's comic book logic. So you have to give this movie a lot of leeway. I will say that for the bad as well, in that this is a comic book film. I feel like X1 and X2, where it had comic book elements to it, it was still the whole, you know, it's the early 90s, we have to be grounded in reality. No, fuck that. We're not grounded in reality now. We just survived Days of Future Past. We can do whatever the fuck we want, you know? It's comic book film. It's comic book logic. You know, everybody's complaining, why can't Apocalypse? Why doesn't he just destroy the X-Men with a thought? Well, you know.
Then we wouldn't have a movie.
Exactly. and the way I can comic book rationalize things is that, well, by the end of the film, shit goes down, and his mind is preoccupied elsewhere. So, yeah, it works if you're willing to let it work. It might not work for a lot of people, though. I don't think it is, because I know the ratings on this movie aren't that great right now, and I think it's sad.
Yeah. Now for the badass. Someone that we know and love makes a cameo in the movie, and I'm pretty sure by now you guys know who it is, alright? But luckily for us, we only watched like the first 2 trailers of the film, and we were like done. We're trying to not watch too many trailers, like for films. We're just maybe the teaser, the first trailer, and then that's it, because of freaking spoilers. So luckily we didn't see that third trailer. So in the film, our minds went when the scene happens, and we'll go into a little bit more detail with our spoiler review of the movie. But yeah, somebody makes a cameo and it's fucking awesome.
Yeah, and I can't believe after all these years, trailers are still, it's perfectly acceptable to spoil one's film in a trailer.
Yeah. Shame. The new roster of X-Men mixed a little bit with the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse, even though they don't really get that much screen time in the movie, unfortunately. There's some decent action at the end. There's some pretty good action at the end.
And aside from the cameo that I'm sure everybody knows about stealing the movie, 2 other characters once again steal the film. I felt Magneto has been one of the strongest portrayals with the strongest motivations throughout this entire new trilogy, and in this he is no different. He gets some amazing screen time, some really powerful and emotional stuff in this time around. And Quicksilver, who thought they could have outdone their fantastic time in a bottle sequence from Days of Future Past? Well, they managed to do it. For me, I felt like this was so much fun. They put it to the song "Sweet Dreams Are Made of This," and I could not stop. My face hurt by the end of the scene. I was smiling so hard. I was just like, oh, this is so much fun. I personally am really confused why this movie is getting such negative reviews.
Yeah, me too.
And I have a couple of things to say on that in our spoiler review. But I just don't feel that it deserves it. You know, it's sitting in the 40% range right now.
That's way too low.
And so you're telling me that Amazing Spider-Man 2, which is sitting fairly comfortably in the lower 50% range, is an easier film to watch. I have to disagree on that. I'm sorry. I don't feel it's as good a film as Days of Future Past, but you also have to understand what Days of Future Past managed to accomplish. It not only saved one franchise, but it combined 2 franchises successfully, which allow us to go in whatever direction we want. I like the direction that this franchise is going in. I feel Apocalypse, it stands very strongly with the better stories of this franchise so far. It was very entertaining. It had a lot of humor in it, which I really think comic book films need to embrace the humor. Don't be afraid. You know, you don't always have to be dark and brooding and, oh, my life sucks because I have powers. Fuck you! Fuck you! Your life doesn't suck! It's hard to follow an act like Days of Future Past because of what it managed to successfully achieve. So I don't know if maybe people are being a little too hard on it. I felt the story was comprehensive. It was pretty straightforward. I understood what was going on. I personally wasn't bored, but I'm hearing a lot of people are falling asleep and they're not knowing where it's going, and I'm confused why that is. But you know, sometimes expectations versus what you get. You know, we've all been there. I still highly recommend it. If you have any investment in the X-Men franchise, go for it.
It's still entertaining.
Yeah, we're a little bit split on the ratings on this one. I'm giving it a 4 out of 5.
I'm going to give it a 3.9. That's it for today's episode. Let us know in the comments below what you thought about X-Men Apocalypse and where you rank it amongst the other X-Men films. And stay tuned for our spoiler review of the film that we will be releasing very soon. We'd like to thank you all for watching. You guys rock. We'll see you guys next time.
Like, share, subscribe. Like, share, subscribe.